talented singer-songwriters, Lynsey
Teacup, and then I had Sugar Me, and then I had No Honestly, and Won't Somebody Dance With Me, and Rock Bottom. Now I can play a little medleyette of them. Shall I do that? Okay, it starts off with Storm in a Teacup. So it goes. This was and the backing voices went pitter patter like rain. And it went one drop of rain on your window pane doesn't mean to say there's a thunderstorm coming. Rain may pour for an hour or more, but it doesn't matter. No, no, it doesn't matter. One gentle breeze blowing softly through the trees doesn't mean to say there's a hurricane humming. Don't start running if you think you hear it coming. Say it doesn't matter. No, no, it doesn't matter. It's just a storm in a teacup, brewing up double all the tiny little troubles. It's a storm in a teacup. It really doesn't matter if it pitter patters all the day. And then I wrote Sugar Me, which was a huge hit for me. All over Europe it was #1, and it was #5 in this country. And I'd never sung professionally in my life. The first time I ever sung professionally was on Top of the Pops. And all of a sudden I found myself sort of at a piano, because I didn't know how to sing standing up, singing a song. And I was a singer all of a sudden. I didn't know why I was a singer. So this was what I wrote. Oh, and I must just tell you, there was a whip crack in Sugar Me. And every time the whip crack came, I used to lurch forward. Well, when I saw it back on the monitors, I howled like a baby. I was so embarrassed. It was so sexual. I was so embarrassed. There was nothing I could do. It was done. So I'll show you what happened. It went, one for you and one for me. But one and one and one, pardon me. Well, it comes to 3. Looking sweet and all the while, hid behind a smile was saccharine. I'm a go-between. Save me, ba-da-ba-da-bum. Save me, baby, whip, baby. Oh, I've gone wrong. But he went, baby, whip, baby, and I'd lurch forward, you see. Got very upset about that. And then I went to a dance when I was 13. I always write things that mean something to me. I went to a dance when I was 13. And nobody in the world asked me to dance. I was terribly fat. I was 3 stone fatter, very short hair, spotty Muldoon, and I was wearing clothes that my mother made me because my top half was very small and my bottom half exploded like a zeppelin, you see, and no clothes I could ever wear could come from the same piece of clothing. I'd have to buy 2 articles always, for the top, one for the bottom. So my mother, who was not a seamstress, not a couture at all, made me all my clothes. And I went to this dance in this sort of outfit with spots and short hair. Not a soul asked me to dance. And I realized that there was something wrong with me as far as aesthetics went. So I never forgot that incident. It changed my life. I looked in the mirror, I said, Lynsey, you've got to grow your hair, wear some makeup, and get yourself together. And then 10 years later, I wrote a song about that very incident, that very night, and it went. And now the band is playing very slow. And once again, I'll get my coat to go a lonely wall. Flower waiting by that wall without the will. Power to face the music at all. Please won't somebody dance with me? Start up a romance with me. Just someone to care, somebody somewhere for a dance with me. So sad. Then I was asked to write a theme tune for 2 people, Terence Brady and Charlotte Bingham, who had written their life story as a comedy and got Pauline Collins and John Alderton to play it. I'm scratching a midge bite here. I've not got flea-ridden. I've got a midge bite right here. And they called it No Honestly, and the people at the TV company who asked me to write a theme tune said, you must write a song called No Honestly. It's not exactly the most inspiring title. And they said, we like it vaguely reminiscent of the 50s and a bit romantic, you know, nice lovey-dovey. So it went... Then I wrote a song with Mike Moran for his group at the time that he was in, Blue Mink. And we wanted a sort of song that was moralistic. It had a nice sentiment to it, and let's get on with life. And we wrote it. And the publishers, unknown to us, Chappell's Music, entered it for Eurovision. And it got through to the final heat of the 12. And as I was going through my horrendous lawsuits at the time, and I couldn't get a contract, Mike and I decided to do it together. So we actually went and did it for Eurovision, but it wasn't written for Eurovision originally. And it went like this. So it went... Hospital, and I was born in Ward 11, and I was the 11th child, and 11 has followed me all my life. My birthday is June the 11th. My first house was number 11. I was 11th in the register, and it's a strange number. It's followed me all my life. And in fact, going on quickly, the first novella I won was when the record went to number 11. It's been a very significant number. Then I went and lived at number 98 Shoot Up Hill. It's apparently where Henry VIII used to shoot deer up the hill back in the 16th century. And it was a huge house, rambling house, with a conservatory and a big grand piano, which I had to ask to use. I couldn't use it unless I asked. My father and mother were extreme disciplinarians. Well, my father was a disciplinarian. He played the violin, and my mother played the piano, and pop music was total taboo. I didn't even hear pop music until I listened to Radio Luxembourg underneath my pillow on one of those little tiny transistor radios. And I was reared on Tchaikovsky and classical music, and it was stable, but it was a very strict upbringing. When I started to learn to play the piano, or at least I didn't learn, I taught myself by ear. I was so small that I had to kneel on the piano stool, and I used to hold my fingers because they were so weak, like this. I put this little finger here and the thumb here to support the finger so I could actually depress the note. I was so tiny. And so the left hand used to do this. I used to play She'll Be Coming Around the Mountain When She Comes. The left hand used to go... After 6 months every day of hearing that, a parent could go quite mad, which my father did, so he stopped me playing the piano until I learnt with my grandmother, who was awful, and completely destroyed my love of music. For about a year I didn't touch the piano. And then a year later I crept into the piano room again and thought I'd delight my parents by playing something new. So I taught myself by ear the Trout, Schubert's Trout, and the music was, how did it go? We'll play it again. It went, well, that's about how I played in those days. But unfortunately, I couldn't think of anything new in the left hand, so it went. I went to South Hampstead High School for girls, and it was extremely strong on the academic side. And when I announced at the age of 18, because I went right through in the same school, that I wanted to go to art college, I was a black sheep. I mean, one went to Cambridge or Oxford. One did not go to art college, but that's where I wanted to go. I wanted to go to Hornsey Art College. I wanted to be an artist. I had the right name in those days, Rubin. I thought Rubin was pretty good to be an artist. Somehow I was lucky enough to be employed while still at college, and I was working in backdrops for cartoons, and I was flown off to America to work as a cartoonist on a thing called the Bugaloos. And when I began to do record sleeves, I just wondered if I could write a song. So I sat down at the piano one day and I began writing a song. And I played it to one of the people who was employing me. It was Roger Cook and Roger Greenaway. And they put the song, the first few songs I'd written, on B-sides and A-sides. But I carried on in my £8-a-week flat in my artwork. I mean, I just thought, well, that's nice. Somebody's gone and published a song of mine. Didn't think anything of it. When I lived in this horrendous two-room flat above an Indian restaurant. And when the restaurant was in service, it was like living inside a jumbo jet. The whole flat used to rumble like this. And it was so dark in there that when somebody stood with their back to the window, they were totally silhouetted. And I got so depressed in that place that there was a beautiful place up the road that belonged to the National Trust. And in it, there were a collection of the most wonderful old instruments. There were harpsichords and virginals and hurdy-gurdies, and the most beautiful feeling in the place. So every weekend, when I had stopped my work for £25, whatever it was I was doing, I would go up there and they'd let me play the harpsichords because I had learned to play the piano with this lovely, lovely lady called Miss Barbara Withers, who was at the Royal Academy. And I learned to play Bach, and they said, OK, well, you can play up here. So every Saturday, I used to go up and play the harpsichords and come out feeling 10 feet tall. Beautiful. Unfortunately, got involved with a manager, and we got into a terrible legal wrangle. And I take everything so seriously in my life. I'm a Gemini. I'm either elated or I'm at the pit. And this dispute upset me so much because it stopped me working for anybody else. The only way I could get a contract for recording was by doing Eurovision, because Eurovision was a big enough carrot, so to speak, that a record company wouldn't be shy of letting me sign a contract and involve themselves in a legal suit. Because if you have a legal suit and a third party gets involved, they are in danger of being sued by one or other of the first parties. It's very unpleasant. But so I was working like a Trojan on Eurovision, and I was going through this legal wrangle, and I take everything so emotionally. My hair was falling out in handfuls. I mean, it's long, thank God, again now, but it fell out in handfuls. I had a third of what I have now, literally. I went down to below 6 stone. And just before Eurovision, I kept fainting. I remember walking down a corridor in Holland, because we were promoting all over Europe, and I found myself being picked up off the corridor. I don't remember passing out. And the day before Eurovision at Wembley, I passed out again. So I wasn't very well or happy at that time. And I worked so hard, and I went to see a doctor after Eurovision had happened. We came second. We just lost the lead, which was upsetting again. I said, I have to get away. And I told no one. I told my mother where I was going. I didn't even tell my agent. I didn't tell anybody. I got on a plane, and I went to Greece. And I found myself in a cab talking German, because I learnt German at school, to a Greek cabbie, seeing cows on one side, goats on another, and just zooming down a Greek road somewhere, all on my own. I just had to get away, and I went and sat on a beach all on my own for a week.
Who do you think you see when you look at me? Is it somebody strong, somebody you could admire? Tell me, who do you think I am? Do you understand? Or are you counting on me to fulfill all your dreams and your desires? Well, all I am is lonely like you. All I wanna do is have one dream come true. All I am is handing you my heart, hoping to be part of you. Who do you think you are, standing in the dark? Are you hiding from me? Do you think I can't see you from here? Tell me, how do I get to you? Won't you let me through? Don't you think maybe we could find something special to share? Well, all I am is lonely like you. All I wanna do is have one dream come true. All I am is handing you my heart, hoping to be part of you. All I am is lonely like you. All I wanna do is have one dream come true. All I am is handing you my heart, hoping to be part of you, hoping to be part of you.
I like caring for things, keeping them beautiful, especially my skin. For me, caring deeply means Nutribel from Lancôme, naturally. Rich as a night cream with oil of jojoba, an entirely natural plant ingredient, yet beautifully light, so you wear it all day. Nutribel. Nutribel by Lancôme cares deeply for the way I like to live.
In the rarefied atmosphere of the city's square mile, Hill Samuel is a pretty big name, but we can be a little more down to earth. There's not much we don't know about investments and life assurance, and all our plans can be tailored to fit you exactly. So if you really want to put your financial house in order, come to ours.
The Moody Blues are back at our price.
It's a blue world. It takes somebody to help somebody.
features the hit single from the Moody Blues on their new album, The Present. You can get it for only $4.99 on album or cassette at any Our Price record shop. Ask for The Present when you...
Get down to our price, our price.
I have bred 26 Sheltie champions, and I've been using pedigree chum for more than 10 years, and it's still a good value now. It's always been. I consider it first-class quality. It never varies and never changes. Pedigree chum is solid goodness. It's full of meaty nourishment. They clear their plates with gusto. The plate is licked clean. There's nothing, in my view, that can better pedigree chum. I recommend chum. I've done it before and I'll do it again. It's first-class value for money.
More than words can say.
Cuprinol protects and preserves the beauty of wood for years. Cuprinol wood preservers. They're in the wood for good.
It's the last days of the big Texas sale. Don't miss the final reductions.
Texas, the big one.
I went, after the holiday in Greece, I had to appraise what was happening in my life. I couldn't work anymore. I was very upset. I'd worked hard. I'd had this terrible dispute still going on. So I decided to get out of the country for a few weeks, and I thought I'll go to America because it's part of, you know, the music scene as well. And I went over to America, and I was only going to stay there 3 weeks and then get my life straight and come back and get on with the struggle. I stayed there 4 years. I met somebody after 2 weeks, James Coburn, and we both had a horrendous time the last couple of years, or year or so. And we just fell in love, and I stayed out there. And I mean, why wouldn't one want to stay somewhere where one was happy? It was wonderful at the very beginning, and then after 4 years, I was saying that once that everything has a life and death, everything, a flower, you know, I do, this little pussycat does, and so does love, and we had 4 years. And after the time that we were together, I wanted to come back to London, and I wanted to work. I miss my house so much. I used to keep a picture of it by the bed, picture of it above the piano there. And I came back to London, and I wanted not to get back on that treadmill of pop. I didn't want that anymore. I'd never really fitted in. To me, you know when you go to a party and you're wearing the wrong clothes and you feel uncomfortable, it's still you and it's really very silly. Well, I always felt like I was slightly wearing the wrong clothes by just limiting myself to just pop. I'm not denigrating it because I'm very grateful to what it did for me in many, many ways. But I'd lost my roots in a lot of ways. I'd lost the girl who drew. I'd lost the girl who played classical music. I'd even lost the girl who laughed for a while. And I wanted to find her again. And so on New Year's Eve, this last New Year's Eve, when I'd actually finally come back from America, I stayed in. And I wanted to start the new year as I intended. And I learnt on the keyboard, on my synthesizers, I taught myself the arrival of the Queen of Sheba, classical music, and the way I intend to go on with the new year. I have another cat. Hello, other cat. 2 cats on my lap now. See an old lady landing up with 2 cats?
my two pussycats. In fact, I got them because I always wanted pets. I had lived without animals for 11 years, and I am an animal holic. In America, I found a rat dying in the garage, and I picked it up, and I thought it was a big mouse, and I took it into James, and I said, look at this big mouse. And he said, that's not a mouse, honey, that's a rat. And I said, God, there are so many in the music business, I don't even know when I got a real one in my hand. And I said, well, he said, let it go on its karmic way, karma being that what it does, what you do, you get back. So let it go on its karmic way. And I said to him, it's not easy to be a rat in this world. I said, not everybody can be a handsome, rich American film star. And with that, I went and got some milk, and I didn't have an eyedropper. I know he thought I was loony, because I just believe in life. I'm a vegetarian, I believe in life. And I sucked this milk up, and I opened this rat's mouth, I swear, and I blew the milk down, because its eyes were shut closed, and it was hyperventilating. It took me about 6 hours to revive it properly, and then it was, I found an eyedropper, and I dropped milky water in it, and then I got milky bread, and it was eating out of my hand. And then I kept it for 10 days, and it had a broken leg, and I took it to a vet. 3 vets turned it down. The 4th vet thought it was a hamster because I was holding its tail. And they set its leg. I called him Arthur Rat, you see. And he bit me eventually. He took a great lump out of my thumb, but that's the nature of a rat. He was well, he wanted to go out in the wild again. So I put him out, and I said, go and get your own orange juice, Arthur. And I went down the hill to a medical centre, because I thought there's rabies in America. I better get myself shot with something. So I went to the medical centre, and it was closed, and I rushed out in the street. My hand was pouring blood. I mean, it just happened to be deep. And I was holding my thumb, and this is probably one of the reasons I left America, because of the people there. I said to this woman in the street, I said, excuse me, do you know where there's a hospital open? I need a tetanus shot or something. She said, oh, gee, what happened? I said, I've been bitten. She said, oh, gee, what bit you? I said, actually, a rat bit me. And she said, oh, gee. And then she looked at my mouth, and she said, oh, gee, that's a swell colour lipstick you're wearing. Where did you get that?
You haven't said a word, but I hear you. We don't have to speak when I'm near you. It's so loud and clear. Words don't mean a thing. Say nothing at all. Listen to emotion, feeling everything. Saying it all with our eyes. Words don't mean a thing at all tonight. I can hear your heart softly beating, talking to my soul. My very being is telling you now. Words don't mean a thing. Say nothing at all. Listen to emotion, feeling everything. Saying it all with our eyes. Words don't mean a thing at all tonight. Tonight, let me feel your honesty. Tonight, don't hold back a thing from me. Let your heart sing for me. Words don't mean a thing. Say nothing at all. Listen to emotion, feeling everything. Saying it all with our eyes. Words don't mean a thing at all tonight. Ooh, words don't mean a thing at all
I had an idea to write a musical. I was sitting in the bath at the time, and to me it seemed to have everything in it. It had the occult, it had religion, it was a very, very well-known figure, and it was a woman. It was sort of like feminism on the way. And it was Joan of Arc, and it is a phenomenal story. So I began to read on it, and I just found the most amazing stuff out about it. But my musical starts with the Dauphin. And this is all fact. I mean, none of it is invented. It's all fact. The Dauphin used to have very skinny legs, and he used to wear yellow stockings, and he had the nickname of the Stork. And he was so poor because France was split up by the Burgundians, the English, and the Normans, and France itself was tiny. And he didn't have any money, he didn't have any army because they were mercenary, he had nothing to pay them with. And he was so poor that all he could afford were new sleeves on his old doublet. So my musical starts with him with his yellow stockings being fitted, one bare-armed totally and one big new sleeve, you see, by this court tailor who's bitching because he hasn't been paid for a year. And this is also a true story, that into the court came a butcher, and the butcher said, "I'm not leaving any more meat because you owe me a year's meat money." So that's it. So the king, the Dauphin, the uncrowned king, had no way of raising money. He went round his own court and asked for a loan. And so I wrote the first song. It should be Lend Us a Livre, but in fact I've written it as Lend Us a Fiver. And the king, the Dauphin, the uncrowned Dauphin, turns to the audience and he says, "How can one be royalty and be broke? How to keep one's subjects' loyalty is a joke. Those English and Burgundians make France's outlook bleak. Lend us a fiver and I'll pay you back next week. Lend us a fiver, lend us a quid. You would be in the royal favor if you did. Lend us a fiver, it's not a lot. It's got to pay the butcher and the tailor to feed the royal retinue. I'd be glad if you'd lend us a fiver. There's an art to being Midas, but I don't have the technique. Have a heart, could you provide us with a fiver, so to speak? Lend us a fiver, lend us a quid. You would be in the royal favor if you did. Lend us a fiver against your tax, and I'll be lax with all the criminals. Pardon all the women who are witches, the hitches. Lend us a fiver. I haven't got a thing to wear. I'll look like Lady Godiva. Buddy, for this king, please spare a fiver, just a fiver, or just a quid. You would be in the royal favor if you did. Lend us a fiver for pure finance, simply to supplement my circumstance, not for mere extravagance, but more for deliverance against the English and for France. Lend us a fiver, lend us a fiver, and the chorus says, lend him a fiver. I always wanted to act, but when you come up and all you do is pop, no matter who you are, you get branded and pigeonholed, and nobody will let you come out of that little niche, no matter who you are, because they see you as something else. So that's what I suffered from for a very long time. When I came back from the States, I said, right, I've got to change my direction, because I have to do this, you know, I'm not going to remain little pop star at the age of 50. So I wanted to act, and I started off in Bromley, in Kent, and I did a play on the Yorkshire Ripper, and it was quite a drama. It wasn't any comedy at all. I didn't find it funny anyway. Maybe my performance was funny, but it wasn't meant to be. And then I did a one-night pantomime, which was wonderful fun, and we had different scripts written by John Cleese and Michael Frayn, and I played Cinderella, Joanna Lumley played Prince Charming, and Ian Ogilvy was Dan Deeney, and Roy Kinnear and Neil Lavender were the Ugly Sisters, and Christopher Timothy was Buttons, and we had an absolute romp, and it gave me such a yen for comedy. I thought, oh, I'd love to do comedy. And then I was lucky enough to be given a part in a pilot for a new comedy musical, TV musical for Granada, and it's called The Starlight Ballroom, and it's set in the late 40s, early 50s.
Very forward. Release the jaw on the bottom. That's a good voice.
But I'm also taking singing lessons because I wanted to develop everything. it can be a bit limiting sometimes if you just stay in one little niche. So I thought I would like to take singing lessons, and I made inquiries, and I found out who was the best person in London, and who seemed to teach everybody, and not anybody, but everybody who needed really serious coaching and was about to go into a play or a performance of some sort. This gentleman, Ian Adam, would teach them. So I called him up and went for lessons. Been taking them for some time. You know, it's awfully strange. I don't know what it is, but if I want something terribly badly, I seem to have a 2-year time delay. If I want something terribly badly, it comes along in 2 years somehow. I mean, I must touch wood. Probably nothing will happen now when I want something to happen. And I thought about 2 years ago, oh, I'd love to, I'd love to do a little stint at disc jockeying. So Capital Radio came through and said, would I like to, for a couple of months, be a disc jockey every Sunday morning, 11 till 1.
My guest from the past is Antonin Dvorak, who is 141 years old today. Welcome to Capital Radio, Dvorak. In fact, it's Dvorak with a silent D.
The D is silent like the P in bathing, the same thing. You see, well, Dvorak. He started with my grandfather. My grandfather was very unusual sailor in Czechoslovakian Navy.
There wasn't a navy in the Czechoslovakian.
That's why he was very unusual sailor. And there was a war. There was war. And everybody was in the army, in cavalry, in infantry, sanitary corps. But my father was in Navy. He was in Navy. And so people came up to him in his naval uniform and said, what did you do in the war, Jack? That's how it started.
What about your father? Your father was a butcher?
He was a butcher. He was a family butcher. I was the only child in the village that wasn't an orphan. He's a wonderful man, my father. Magnificent man. Magnificent man. He wanted to be a butcher. Wanted me to be butcher. Dvorak the butcher. I wanted to be composer. So the first concerto I wrote, I combined the two. I write for full orchestra and 2 pounds of chopped liver.
What key was that in?
A sharp knife. Very beautiful.
It was a lovely symphony. You studied in poverty, didn't you?
No, in Prague. Yes, in Prague. I wrote music for living for automatic piano, what they call pragmatic music. My father worked very hard in glue factory to send me through conservatory. He threw me through conservatory twice. I wasn't allowed to play in the house, only in the conservatory. And my father worked very hard for me. He hated working in the glue factory, but he stuck to his work, and he paid for my education. The name of my first professor, believe it or not, was Dr. Hankey. You can see it in Encyclopedia Britannica, which write a lot of rubbish. But in this case, it's true, absolutely true. Hankey. But he was fired for hanky-panky, and afterwards I went with Professor Abchak.
Abchak?
Yes, Abchak, wonderful man, wonderful. But then I win Leeds Festival, where I was awarded first prize and 2 suite lengths for the Schmatter Concerto. Magnificent piece of music.
What piece of music would you like us to play of yours?
New World Symphony. It's the only piece of music I remember I wrote.
Where are we? Rock bottom tragedies. We got a remedy. Why don't we rub it out and start it again? With a sympathy. Oh, I get it, harmony. You said it, where are we? Rock bottom, rub it out and start it again.
Well, I had a horrendous time a little while ago, and I was talking to somebody, and I said, oh, I feel like somebody's pushed me down in the earth so far that I don't know. I mean, I said, I can't even see the daylight. And he said, well, where do they put a seed when they want it to grow?
I know we were meant to be. Nothing's gonna change the way I feel about you. No, honestly. I'll make you a lifetime guarantee. Nothing's gonna change the way I feel about you. No.
I couldn't say that my life has ever been tranquil. I've always been an extremist in everything I do. Everything's wonderfully incredible or terribly awful. There's nothing in the middle. There's no grey in my life. There's never an indecision either. It's yes, no, black, white, good, bad, always. And touch wood, it seems to be quite nice at the moment.
We pop in together.